I am very rustled.
Because of Gamescom? Because of the fact that Diva's new map got announced 10 seconds ago?
10 seconds ago, and I need to write the story up. Mostly because I played Sekiro.
Shadows Die Twice?
Shadows Die Twice, a From Software game, and it kicked my ass.
So when we went to this appointment, I thought we were going to get like 2 pods and we both play, but it turns out we only got 1. So I graciously gave the pod to you because you are Soulsborne until you die.
Yeah.
Super into those games.
Yep.
You have the Bloodborne Platinum.
Yeah, I've played Dark Souls more times than I can count. 1 and 3, 2, just twice. There's a limit, guys.
So I'll let you get on there. And honestly, like the look of anguish
Yeah.
as you were playing, but I can't tell if it was like a good anguish it hurts so good.
It's a little bit of both. There's nothing. It was a very strange feeling. It was a very familiar feeling, almost nostalgic. Like you go in to Sekiro, it looks like a Souls game. So you go in with that years worth of Souls confidence, the muscle memory. You know Souls inside out. You go in there confident. This is my jam.
That's how they get you.
That's how they get you. And then this game is so different that it's like a shock to the system. So that difficulty, like you play Dark Souls 1 and then if you've played Dark Souls 1 enough times, you're fluent in the language of Souls in a lot of ways. That means you can play Dark Souls 2 and 3 with confidence.
Yeah.
Bloodborne kind of mixed that up slightly, introduced some new verbiage, and a few extra...
I'm loving this metaphor, by the way.
Like the way you use that language changed slightly, but fundamentally it still felt like a Souls game. And because of that, you had that experience and you could get on really well. It feels like another entire language now.
What, but like not one that's based in Latin roots?
It's like I've learned French and now everyone is speaking Esperanto and I'm very confused.
So, one of the problems that I noticed you're having is like the tutorialization in this demo was non-existent. So I guess like maybe it was just because of the particular part of the game that they brought out.
Yeah, they didn't really explain much, which is... It looked like a chunk from in the middle of the game, and obviously it stands to reason that all the tutorial stuff had already happened far earlier, and they gave me the basics of how to attack. But there's so much more happening in that game. It feels like it's way more active.
Yeah.
You can jump at the press of a button. You can like double jump up walls. You've got a grappling hook that it finds points and will grapple hook up to those points. You can hang off ledges. It is very much inspired by Tenchu.
Yeah.
I asked them about whether they looked at Tenchu and they go, of course, we wanted to make a samurai game, we wanted to have this like super dynamic movement style, and at some point we did look at Tenchu. And you can see that immediately, but it still fundamentally feels like a Souls game where you have these enemies and that you understand how they work eventually and you can very easily like cut your way through them.
Yeah.
And then you have there was this one enemy who absolutely kept stomping me.
Samurai General.
The Samurai General guy. And partly was because he's very difficult. He seemed to have quite a lot of moves. I didn't have enough time to figure out his patterns, figure out his tells, but he kept catching me off guard. And that's also because like I couldn't understand the way he moved properly, and also because I wasn't fully like accustomed to all the abilities that were available to me. So there's like blocking, and there's a system where like applying pressure is an important part of it, because it breaks their kind of guard, and then once you break that guard, you get an instant kill. You don't have to like circle behind them and get them in the back. You can if you want, but like it's just about overwhelming them. So that's that like touch of Bloodborne there. Then you've got like parries, and you've also got your prosthetic arm, which is another touch of Bloodborne, where you can basically flip between different weapons on there. So I had like almost like a flame launcher that like close range would keep people at distance. I had shurikens that I could throw from a distance, and then I had the axe from effectively Bloodborne. But that had like a way longer wind up time.
Yeah, that seems super heavy.
It did a lot of damage, but it was like I couldn't get used to how long it took to actually hit. So
unless you were taking someone by surprise, like I don't know how you would have.
It felt like in that demo, it was more useful for me to creep up behind someone and then do a really charged attack. And also like the enemies were way more like tricksy. They would like run around a corner and then like just be out of sight enough to think that they've gone, and then come running back around and like stab you, and they'd follow you around as well quite a lot.
But it looked like they had like indicators where they could tell if you were around.
Yeah. So
I was wondering if you could like possibly like go in, attack, and like return to the.
Yeah. So the area that we were playing in was quite small. So that meant that it felt like I was always in someone's cone of vision if I was on the ground level, and like breaking that line of sight wasn't enough. They could always sense me around, but it does make the kind of their visibility more overt. In the Souls games previously, you just had this kind of like invisible line, which once you crossed it, they knew you were there and they'd run towards you.
You kind of had like it, and by the time when you kept playing the Souls games, you kind of innately understood how far they could see.
So this one is like a little more like it's obvious. Like it's got an encounter, like a caution system as well. Like you're kind of close to being visible here. You're caught now, and they will react like stealth game characters where they're like, "Hey, who's that?" And then kind of like they won't say, "Hey, who's that?" They'll make a grunting noise.
Hey, someone over there.
Yeah, someone over there. Stealth is a big part of it. Like you can go in guns blazing, but immediately I felt like enemies were placed closer together so that they could swarm you.
I was going to say there was one point, like a couple of points actually, I looked over and like you were properly getting swarmed by like up to 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah, and they do things and they're brutal. Like they felt like there's that one undead in Dark Souls 1. It has this one attack where it just goes berserk and starts like doing his knife. These guys were doing that way more often. Like that felt like one of their standard attacks. It wasn't like just towards the end or anything like that. So I frequently found myself getting backed into corners and forgetting. The trickiest part of it was having to unlearn what Souls has kind of like taught you. That kind of like very measured style of playing, and it's almost like you have to unlearn some of what Bloodborne is, because Bloodborne had that like ebb and flow to it where you go in, attack, back off. This feels like it's more like chaotic. So like I would be in the moment, I mean like, oh crap, I remember I've got my dodge. So you got to dodge. It doesn't feel as lenient. It doesn't feel like there's as many invincibility frames right now. But then you can do things like jump backwards instead. And if you jump in the air and press jump again, he does a little kick. So you can like get people away from you like that. And then I had to remind myself I don't have to stay in this encounter. I can just run away and like zip line up to a roof and like use distance attacks, or even just try and hide for a bit, or use grass to hide myself and like come up behind people and attack them. And you've got like jumping, plunging attacks that are very similar, and some of them will insta-kill enemies, some of them won't because the enemy's too powerful. But I think my pervading thought was, it feels good to be bad at Souls again.
That's good.
Which is like an exciting prospect. And it's something that I think they needed, because now we got to the point where fans were just looking for thematic differences between Souls games. Like, what's the next one going to be? Is it going to be a Cthulhu game? Is it going to be another one like, Dark Fantasy, Berserk style Knights? Are they going to do something else, samurai stuff? This is going into a new theme, Samurai Sengoku era, but it's also mixing up the gameplay. Like fundamentally, this is the most changed a Souls experience has been since the first Dark Souls. Bloodborne was a step. Like a small step in changing that. It's like
this is the one giant leap for Souls kind.
This is one giant leap for Souls kind.
That's the title of the video?
Yeah, one giant leap for Souls kind. I'm very, very excited about this game. And like I came away angry, like livid that I just got absolutely stomped by a Souls game. And I was like, I'm excited as well. And it also helps that, Miyazaki is involved. So you're guaranteeing that kind of like quality storytelling, hopefully. And also like he seems to be pushing the kind of like rising stars within From Software forward again. And they seem to be very much up to rise to the challenge. And it's just all around a super, super exciting prospect. Yeah.
Giant leap, Souls kind.